I never thought I'd find myself in this position, sitting alone in my car outside my wife's therapist's office, heart pounding in my chest. My name is Jake, and my wife, Amanda, and I had been married for 5 years. On the surface, we looked like a couple living the American dream. We had a cozy house, a dog named Max, and we shared a love for adventure. But beneath that shiny exterior, things were unraveling. It all started a few months ago when Amanda began to change. Her late nights at the office became more frequent and she started ignoring my texts. I brushed it off at first, attributing it to stress or maybe a new work project. But as the weeks passed, my gut told me something was off. I tried to talk to her about it, but she'd just roll her eyes and tell me I was being paranoid. "Trust me, everything is fine, Jake," she'd snap, her tone sharp and dismissive. Every time I tried to address my concerns, I felt like I was the one under the microscope. When she suggested couples therapy, I was both relieved and skeptical. I thought this was a step in the right direction, a chance to rebuild our relationship. Little did I know, it would lead me down a dark path I never anticipated. In the therapy sessions, Amanda often put on a facade. She'd sit there, feigning remorse, spinning tales about how I had driven her to seek solace elsewhere. I felt like a villain in my own life. The first few sessions were filled with her complaints about me not being affectionate enough, about how I never made time for us. It was like she was painting me as the bad guy, and the therapist ate it up. I left those sessions feeling confused and angry, questioning everything about our marriage. On the day of my discovery, the air was thick with tension as we drove to the therapist's office. I had noticed a few messages pop up on her phone the previous week, little snippets of chats that made my skin crawl. A name I recognized, someone from her past, Mark, her college ex. I brushed it aside, telling myself I was overthinking. But on that day, I couldn't shake the feeling in my gut. When we arrived, Amanda rushed to the bathroom before our session. I sat there leafing through some magazines in the waiting room, but I couldn't concentrate. My mind was racing. I decided to pull out my phone, needing to distract myself. As I scrolled through my messages, I noticed a notification from her phone light up on the table beside me. It was a message from Mark. Intrigued and horrified, I picked it up without thinking. "Can't wait to see you tonight, just like old times." My heart sank. I felt my blood run cold. Who the hell did she think she was? I opened the message thread and my heart shattered as I scrolled through their conversations. Flirty banter, plans to meet, even a few suggestive memes that made my stomach churn. It was right there in front of me, evidence of her betrayal. Just then Amanda walked back in, her smile fading when she noticed I had her phone. "What are you doing?" she snapped, a mix of fear and anger flashing across her face. I couldn't hold back any longer. "What the hell is this?" I shouted, shoving the phone into her hands. The look on her face was priceless, shocked, then defensive. "You're reading my messages." "Jake, you can't just go through my things." I seethed as she tried to twist the narrative. "It's not what it looks like. Mark is just an old friend," she insisted, her voice rising, but I wasn't buying it. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself as I realized the gravity of the situation. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, had been lying to me. As we stood there, the air crackling with tension, I felt my world crash around me. The betrayal was heavy, and all I could think about was how I had trusted her. I couldn't keep the anger bottled up any longer. "You're lying, Amanda. You've been cheating on me during our therapy sessions, and you have the gall to sit here and pretend everything's fine." Her face twisted in anger, but I could see the fear in her eyes. For a moment I thought she would break down and confess, but instead she stood her ground. "You're being dramatic. This is ridiculous." I was done. I had brought evidence to the next session, and I was ready to end it once and for all. I walked out right then and there, leaving her standing in the therapist's office, a storm of emotions swirling inside me. I didn't know what I would do next, but I knew I couldn't go back to the life I had. The road ahead was unclear, but one thing was for certain. The woman I married was gone, and I had to figure out how to pick up the pieces of my shattered heart. What I learned that day was painful but clear. Trust is fragile, and the truth often has a way of surfacing when you least expect it. Part 2 coming up. I drove aimlessly for a while, my mind racing, my heart pounding in my chest like a war drum. I couldn't believe what had just happened. I felt like I was caught in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The betrayal from Amanda cut deeper than any physical wound. I had put my trust in her, and in return, she had taken the very foundation of our marriage and shattered it into a million pieces. I didn't even know where I was headed. I just needed to escape the reality that had engulfed me. I ended. But a park, a favorite spot of ours where we used to take Max for walks. As I parked the car, I could see families playing, couples laughing, and it made my heart ache even more. I had envisioned a life filled with love and shared moments, but now it felt like I was trapped in a cruel joke. I stepped out of the car and took a deep breath, trying to ground myself. I couldn't let anger consume me. I needed clarity. Sitting on a bench, I pulled out my phone and stared at the messages from Amanda. Part of me wanted to confront her again, to demand answers and apologies, but I knew that wouldn't change the truth. She had made her choice, and it was time I made mine. Several hours passed as I sat there, replaying memories of our life together. I thought about the first time we met at a friend's party, the way she laughed at my corny jokes, how her eyes sparkled when she talked about her dreams. I had fallen in love with her enthusiasm for life, and that made this betrayal feel even more devastating. I felt like I had been living with a stranger and I was just starting to understand the depth of her deception. When I finally returned home, it was eerily quiet. Max was there, wagging his tail and looking up at me with those big brown eyes as if sensing my distress. I knelt down to hug him tightly, grateful for the unconditional love of my dog. At least he didn't care about the mess that my life had become. The next few days were a blur. I went through the motions, work, eating, sleeping, but I was an empty shell. Friends reached out, worried about me, but I brushed them off. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to relive the pain. Eventually, I decided to confide in my best friend, Tom. He was the one person I could trust to keep it real without sugarcoating anything. We met at a bar, and as soon as I sat down, I could see the concern etched on his face. "Jake, man, you look like hell," he said, handing me a beer. "I found out Amanda's been cheating on me," I said, the words tumbling out of my mouth like a dam breaking. During our therapy sessions with her ex Mark, Tom's expression shifted from concern to anger. "What the hell?" I knew something was off, but I didn't want to say anything. "I just thought you two were going through a rough patch." I took a long swig of my beer, the bitter taste grounding me. "She lied to me, Tom. She made me feel like I was the problem, and I can't believe I trusted her." Tom leaned in, his voice low and serious. "You deserve better, man. She's been playing you for a fool, and you don't need that kind of toxicity in your life." His words hit home. I had spent so long trying to fix our relationship, thinking love could conquer all, but love couldn't fix dishonesty. I realized then that I had to take control of my life to reclaim my sense of self that I had lost in the shuffle of betrayal. "You're right," I said, my voice firmer than I felt. "I can't go back to that. I need to move on." Tom nodded in agreement. "You need to give yourself time to heal, but don't let her win by dragging this out. You have the power to choose how this story ends." The conversation lit a small fire inside me. I felt a flicker of determination. I wouldn't let Amanda's choices dictate my happiness. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to start the process of moving on. The next day, I took another step forward. I packed up some of Amanda's things that had been left around the house. Her clothes, the little knickknacks she had accumulated over the years, everything went into a box. As I packed, I felt a mix of sadness and relief. I was reclaiming my space, both physically and emotionally. When I was done, I sat on the couch, staring at the box as if it were a portal to a new beginning. I thought about how I was going to confront Amanda once again. I needed closure, and I needed to let her know that I wouldn't be a part of her games anymore. That night, I texted her, asking her to meet me at a cafe we used to frequent. I felt a knot in my stomach as I prepared to face her, but I knew it was time for this conversation. I'd confront her with the truth of how I felt and what I planned to do. As I lay in bed that night, I tried to calm my racing mind. I was ready to lay it all out, to demand the respect I deserved, and to finally take a stand for myself. The next day would be pivotal. It would be the beginning of a new chapter in my life, one where I wouldn't allow Amanda to dictate my worth any longer. I drifted off to sleep with a sense of hope, feeling like I was finally taking back control. What had once felt like an insurmountable burden was shifting, and I was ready to face whatever came next. Part 3 coming up. The next morning, I woke up with a mix of anxiety and determination swirling in my gut. I spent the day preparing for what felt like a battle, even though I knew my goal was simply to reclaim my dignity and close a painful chapter. I dressed carefully, opting for a button-down shirt that I hadn't worn in a while. It felt good to look put together, as if I were stepping into my power, ready to face whatever Amanda threw my way. As the clock approached our meeting time, I drove to the cafe, replaying the conversations in my mind. I thought about every word I wanted to say, the points I needed to hit. When I arrived, my heart raced as I spotted Amanda seated at a table near the window, scrolling through her phone, seemingly unfazed. She looked up when she saw me, and for a moment I saw a flicker of surprise cross her face before she masked it with her usual practiced smile. "Hey, Jake," she said, her tone light as if we were simply catching up after a long day at work. "Thanks for coming." I sat down across from her, trying to maintain a calm exterior despite the storm brewing inside me. "We need to talk," I said, cutting straight to the chase. Amanda raised an eyebrow, her smile faltering. "About what?" "I thought we were working on things." "Working on things, is that what you call it?" I leaned in, my voice steady but firm. "You cheated on me, Amanda. While we've been trying to fix our marriage, you've been texting Mark, planning to see him. Don't pretend this is about our relationship anymore." Her eyes widened and she quickly glanced around the cafe as if checking for eavesdroppers. "I told you it's not like that. Mark and I were just talking. I didn't mean for it to go anywhere." I felt anger boil beneath my skin at her attempt to downplay what had happened. "Talking? Those messages I saw were flirting, Amanda. You were planning to meet him. Don't insult my intelligence." She crossed her arms defensively, her face shifting from shock to indignation. "You're making this into a bigger deal than it is. I was confused. You weren't giving me what I needed." "Right, blaming me for your choices. Classic," I shot back, frustration seeping into my voice. "You have no idea how hard I've tried to be there for you. I've listened to your complaints, gone to therapy with you, all while you were lying to my face." Amanda took a deep breath, her facade cracking slightly. "I didn't want to hurt you. I just felt so lonely. It was an emotional connection." "Emotional? That's rich coming from you, considering you were sharing intimate moments with him. If you needed something, you should have talked to me instead of reaching out to your ex." Her expression shifted to one of desperation. "I didn't know how. You were so distant, and I thought maybe I could find something I was missing." "Missing? What about the vows we took? You don't just throw those away because you're feeling neglected. You need to communicate, not run back to the comfort of an old flame. This isn't high school." There was a moment of silence as we both processed the weight of the conversation. I could feel my heart racing as I gathered my thoughts, determined to lay everything out on the table. "I can't do this anymore. I deserve better than a relationship built on lies and deceit. I can't stay with someone who doesn't respect our marriage," I declared, my voice steady as I forced myself to look her in the eye. Her face fell, the bravado slipping away as she grasped the reality of the situation. "Wait, you're serious. You can't just throw everything away like this." "I'm not throwing anything away. You did that when you chose to cheat. I'm choosing to save myself instead." Tears welled in her eyes, but I felt no sympathy left to give. I had spent too long trying to hold on to what we once had, and now it was time to let it go. "You need to gather your things and move out. I'll give you some time to figure everything out, but I can't keep living like this." She opened her mouth to protest, but I raised my hand to stop her. "No more excuses, Amanda. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine." She looked torn between anger and sorrow, and for a fleeting moment I felt a pang of regret, but I quickly pushed it aside. I couldn't afford to feel sorry for her. I was the one who had been wronged. "I loved you," she whispered, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know," I replied, but it felt hollow. "But love isn't enough when there's betrayal. I hope you find what you're looking for, but it won't be with me." With that, I stood up, leaving her at the table, stunned and silent. As I walked away, I felt a strange sense of relief wash over me. I had finally spoken my truth, and while the future was uncertain, I knew I was doing the right thing for my heart and mind. When I got back to my car, I took a moment to breathe deeply, allowing the weight of my decision to settle in. I felt lighter, as if a burden had been lifted. It wasn't going to be easy going forward, but I was ready to face the unknown. That night I grabbed my phone and reached out to Tom, letting him know how the meeting went. I needed support, and he had been there for me through it all. "You did the right thing, man," he texted back. "You deserve someone who values you, not someone who plays games. Let's grab a drink this weekend. You need to celebrate your newfound freedom." I smiled at the message, grateful to have a friend who understood. I was ready to take the next step, to rediscover myself without the weight of betrayal holding me back. The path ahead was clear. It was time for healing and self-discovery. I was no longer defined by my past, but ready to embrace the future. Part 4 coming up. The following weeks were both challenging and liberating. Once I made the decision to end things with Amanda, I felt a strange mix of emotions. On one hand, I was mourning the relationship I thought I had. On the other, I was experiencing a newfound sense of freedom. It was as if I had emerged from a fog, finally able to see the world around me with clarity. I took time off work, needing space to process everything. I immersed myself in activities that I had set aside during my marriage. I picked up my guitar again, something I used to do frequently before life with Amanda consumed my free time. Strumming the strings felt cathartic. I poured my emotions into my music, writing songs about heartbreak, betrayal, and ultimately healing. Tom was a constant presence during this period. He had become my rock, always ready to listen and offer support. He encouraged me to go out and meet new people, reminding me that there was a whole world outside the confines of my former life. I attended local gigs, joined a few online forums about music, and even tried my hand at some cooking classes. It felt good to rediscover parts of myself that had been buried for too long, but every now and then, my thoughts would drift back to Amanda. I couldn't help but wonder how she was coping with the fallout. I had been her world for years, and now she was facing the consequences of her choices alone. Part of me felt guilty for not caring more, but I quickly reminded myself that I had to prioritize my healing. The first time I ran into Amanda after our cafe confrontation was entirely unexpected. I was at a local grocery store, lost in thought as I pushed my cart down the aisle when I turned around and almost collided with her. She stood there, a shopping list clutched in her hand, looking equally surprised. Her expression quickly morphed into one of discomfort as she recognized me. "Jake," she said, her voice strained. I nodded, unsure of what to say. I had hoped this wouldn't happen so soon. "Hey, Amanda." She swallowed hard, looking at me as if she were waiting for some kind of permission to speak. "How have you been?" I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. "I'm doing all right, just focusing on myself." A flicker of anger sparked in her eyes. "You're moving on then?" I could hear the bitterness in her voice. "I guess you could say that," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "I didn't expect to see you here," she said, avoiding my gaze and fidgeting with her list. "Yeah, well, life goes on, right?" I couldn't help but let a hint of sarcasm slip through. She looked taken aback, but I didn't care. I had no obligation to coddle her feelings anymore. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything, Jake. I know I messed up." I paused, taken aback by her apology. I had expected defensiveness, not remorse. "Sorry doesn't change what you did," I said, my voice cold. "But it's a start." "I know it's not enough," she said, her voice trembling. "I really thought I could fix things with you." I didn't realize how much I would regret my choices until it was too late. I couldn't help but feel a flicker of sympathy, but I quickly extinguished it. "You made your choice, Amanda. That's the reality we're dealing with now." "Do you still love me at all?" she asked, her eyes searching mine for some semblance of hope. I shook my head slowly. "Love isn't enough to fix betrayal. I can't keep looking back. I need to move forward, and I hope you find a way to do the same." With that, I turned and walked away, leaving her standing in the middle of the aisle, looking small and defeated. I felt a strange sense of empowerment as I reached the checkout. It was as if I had finally closed the door on a chapter that had plagued me for far too long. In the weeks that followed, I continued to focus on myself. I started hitting the gym, lifting weights and pushing myself physically. I felt stronger both mentally and emotionally. Through all the heartbreak, I was learning to take care of myself, to prioritize my needs, and to let go of the past. Tom and I made plans to go out more often. He introduced me to his circle of friends, and I quickly became part of the group. They were a refreshing change from the toxic environment I had endured with Amanda. I started to feel like I was rediscovering my identity, something I had nearly lost in the fog of my marriage. One Friday night, we all went out to a local bar for karaoke. I was anxious at first, but Tom egged me on, insisting that I get up and sing. I finally relented, choosing a song I had written during my healing process. As I sang, I poured my heart into the performance, feeling every word resonate with the crowd. The cheers and applause that followed felt liberating, each clap a reminder that I was reclaiming my life. It was that night, surrounded by new friends and the thrill of the stage, that I felt a profound shift within myself. I realized that I didn't need someone else to validate my worth. I was finding joy in my own company, and for the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely happy. As time passed, I began to understand the importance of self-love and resilience. I was learning to forgive myself for allowing Amanda's actions to define my worth. It was a journey, but I was on the right path. I still had moments of sadness when I thought about what could have been, but I was beginning to see those moments for what they were, just fleeting thoughts, not anchors holding me down. I was ready to fully embrace my new life with all its possibilities. Part 5 coming up. As the weeks turned into months, my life began to take on a new rhythm. I settled into my routine, maintaining a balance between work, music, and my blossoming social life. I felt like a weight had been lifted. I was finally free from the emotional turmoil that once consumed me, and I was ready to explore the world with fresh eyes. Tom was instrumental in this transformation. His relentless support and humor kept me grounded, and he encouraged me to step outside my comfort zone. One Friday night, he invited me to a music festival, saying it was the perfect opportunity to celebrate my newfound freedom and immerse myself in the local music scene. At first, I hesitated. The thought of large crowds made me anxious, and I was still wary of unexpected encounters with Amanda. But Tom insisted, reminding me that I couldn't let fear dictate my life. "You need to embrace all the good that's out there, Jake," he urged. "Stop letting the past control you." Taking his words to heart, I decided to go. The festival was electric, filled with laughter, music, and an atmosphere of joy that was infectious. I felt a thrill run through me as I danced with Tom and his friends, letting go of the remnants of my past. I was no longer the heartbroken husband. I was a man reclaiming his life. As the night wore on, I met a girl named Sarah. She was bubbly and outgoing, with an infectious smile that immediately drew me in. We began talking, laughing, and sharing our mutual love for music. I felt a spark that I hadn't experienced in a long time, and it was exhilarating. "Have you ever thought about performing live?" she asked, her eyes bright with excitement as we shared stories about our favorite bands. "I've done a little bit of open mic here and there," I admitted, feeling a rush of adrenaline at the prospect of sharing my music with others again. "But I've been a bit hesitant to really dive in." "Why not?" she challenged playfully. "You should. Life is too short to hold back." Her encouragement lit a fire within me. As we talked and laughed, I found myself opening up about my recent struggles, how I had emerged from a painful chapter and was learning to rediscover myself. To my surprise, she listened intently, her genuine interest making me feel seen and understood. "I think it's amazing that you're taking back control of your life," she said, her voice soft but firm. "You deserve happiness, and it's clear you're on the right path." By the end of the night, we exchanged numbers, and I felt a sense of hope blossom within me. It had been so long since I had felt this kind of connection with someone. I left the festival that night with a lightness in my heart, excited about the possibilities that lay ahead. As days turned into weeks, Sarah and I began to see each other more frequently. We explored local cafes, attended live shows, and combined our love for music in jam sessions that often lasted late into the night. She was unlike anyone I had met. Before, supportive, kind, and refreshingly honest. One evening, sitting on her couch after a long day, I shared my journey with her. I spoke about the pain of my marriage ending, how I had struggled to navigate the aftermath, and how I was finally learning to love myself again. "I can't believe how far you've come," Sarah said, her eyes sparkling with admiration. "It takes a lot of strength to get back up after something like that. I'm proud of you." Her words struck a chord deep within me. I realized how much I had grown, how much my experiences had shaped me into a better person. It wasn't just about moving on, it was about evolving and finding joy in the present moment. As our relationship blossomed, I could feel the walls I had built around my heart starting to soften. I had been so fearful of vulnerability after Amanda, but Sarah made it easy to let my guard down. We shared deep conversations, laughed freely, and supported each other in pursuing our passions. One night I invited her to an open mic night at a local venue. It was a big step for me, a way to showcase my music in a public setting. I was nervous, but I wanted to share a piece of myself with her and the audience. As I took the stage and strummed my guitar, I could see Sarah in the front row, her encouraging smile beaming back at me. I found my voice, pouring my heart into the lyrics I had written about heartbreak and healing. The crowd responded positively, and I felt a rush of adrenaline. By the time I finished, I was met with applause and cheers, and I could see Sarah clapping with pride. Performance was liberating, and I felt a sense of accomplishment that I hadn't experienced in years. This was who I was meant to be: vulnerable, authentic, and free. After the show, Sarah pulled me into a hug, her eyes shining. "You were amazing, I'm so proud of you." I couldn't help but smile, her enthusiasm infectious. "Thanks, I can't believe I actually did it." "You've got to keep performing," she said. "You have a gift, don't hide it away." Her encouragement sparked something within me. I started attending more open mic nights and even began writing new songs. I felt alive in a way that I hadn't in a long time, and I knew that I was on the right path. As I grew closer to Sarah, I also found it easier to let go of the lingering hurt from my past. I finally felt ready to confront Amanda again, not to reignite anything, but to find closure for myself. I sent her a message, asking if we could meet for coffee to talk. When the day came, I felt a mix of nervousness and determination. I hadn't seen Amanda since our last confrontation at the cafe, and I wasn't sure how this meeting would go. As I walked into the coffee shop, I spotted her sitting at a table looking apprehensive. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. "Hi, Jake," she replied, her voice shaky. We exchanged small talk, but I could sense the tension hanging in the air. Finally, I took a deep breath and looked her in the eyes. "I wanted to meet to find some closure. I think it's important for both of us." Amanda nodded, looking down at her coffee. "I know I messed up. I'm sorry for everything. I didn't realize how much I'd hurt you until it was too late." I paused, considering her words. "I appreciate the apology, but I need you to understand that I've moved on. I'm finally at a place where I can look back without feeling the weight of your betrayal dragging me down." Tears filled her eyes as she nodded. "I understand. I just wish I could take back my mistakes." "I know," I said gently. "But life doesn't always give us those chances. We have to learn from our experiences and grow." We talked for a little while longer, but the conversation was different this time, more about acknowledging the past than reliving it. I felt a sense of peace wash over me as we parted ways. Walking away from that meeting, I realized I had finally let go of the anger and hurt that had been holding me back. I was ready to embrace not only a new chapter with Sarah, but also a renewed sense of self. I had learned that healing was not linear. It was a process filled with ups and downs. But I was grateful for every moment, every lesson learned. I was finally living my life on my own terms, and it felt incredible. Part 6 coming up. As the summer days turned into fall, my relationship with Sarah deepened. We spent weekends exploring the outdoors, hiking in the nearby mountains, and discovering hidden gems in the city. With each passing day, I felt more at ease, more at home in my own skin. It was as if I was finally shedding the remnants of my past. One chilly evening, we went for a stroll through a local park, the leaves crunching beneath our feet. The ambience was perfect: the crisp air, the sound of laughter from families enjoying the evening, and the vibrant colors of autumn painting the world around us. We stopped at a park bench, and Sarah looked at me, her expression softening. "Jake, I really appreciate everything you've shared with me," she said, her voice earnest. "You've been through so much, and it's incredible to see how far you've come. I admire your strength." Her words hit me like a wave of warmth. I smiled, feeling gratitude swell inside me. "Thank you, Sarah. It's been a journey, but you've played a huge role in helping me heal. I never knew I could feel this way again." We both fell silent for a moment, allowing the peaceful atmosphere to envelop us. I could sense there was something more she wanted to say, and I waited patiently for her to find the right words. "I've been thinking about us," she finally said, her brow furrowing slightly. "I know we've both been through painful experiences, and I want you to know that I'm here for you. I care about you, Jake." "I care about you too," I replied, my heart racing. "I've enjoyed every moment we've spent together, and I've never felt this kind of connection before." With that, she took a deep breath, her eyes locking onto mine. "I want to be open and honest. I see a future with you, but I also want to make sure you're ready for that. I don't want to rush you into anything, especially after everything you've been through." My heart swelled at her words. It was refreshing to be with someone who valued communication and honesty. "I appreciate that, Sarah. Honestly, I'm starting to feel ready for more. I've learned so much about myself through this process, and I want to keep moving forward with you." Relief washed over her face, and I couldn't help but smile back. We shared a moment, our connection deepening as I realized that I had found someone who not only understood my past but encouraged my growth. As the weeks passed, our relationship blossomed. We discussed our dreams, our hopes, and even our fears. I found comfort in the fact that we both had experienced heartache, but we were now choosing to build something meaningful together. It was a partnership founded on trust and understanding, a stark contrast to what I had known before. One weekend, Sarah surprised me with tickets to a music festival featuring some of my favorite bands. I was ecstatic. It felt like a celebration of everything I had rediscovered about myself. As we danced and sang along to the music, surrounded by laughter and joy, I realized how far I had come. In the midst of that vibrant atmosphere, I turned to Sarah, my heart racing with gratitude and happiness. "Thank you for being you, supportive, kind, and inspiring. You've helped me find my voice again." She smiled back, her eyes shining. "And thank you for letting me in. You deserve all the happiness in the world." As the night unfolded, I found myself on stage again, this time performing with a group of local musicians. Sarah cheered me on from the front row, her smile lighting up the crowd. I felt alive, empowered by the music and the people around me. After my set, I jumped down from the stage, exhilarated. As I made my way through the crowd, Sarah rushed toward me, her excitement palpable. "You were amazing," she exclaimed, pulling me into a tight embrace. I laughed, feeling a warmth spread through me. "It felt incredible. Thank you for believing in me." As we walked back to our spot in the crowd, I realized how different things were now compared to just a few months ago. I had gone from a heartbroken husband seeking closure to a man who was thriving, embracing love and life with open arms. Later that night, as we sat under the stars, I took her hand in mine, feeling a surge of emotions. "I know it's been a whirlwind, but I'm grateful. I've learned the importance of love, trust, and resilience. I want you to know that I'm here for you too, no holding back." Her eyes widened in surprise, then softened. "I want that too, Jake. I'm ready to build something special together." With that, we shared our first kiss under the stars, a moment filled with hope and possibility. It was a kiss that symbolized not just a new beginning, but a celebration of everything I had overcome. Reflecting on my journey, I realized how far I had come. I had faced betrayal, heartbreak, and moments of despair, but through it all, I found the strength to rebuild my life. I learned that love could flourish again, even after the deepest wounds. The road to healing had been long and painful, but it was also transformative. I had emerged stronger, more self-aware, and ready to embrace the love I deserved. Now, with Sarah by my side, I was excited to see where this new chapter would take me. I had learned that, while the past could shape us, it didn't define us. Life was full of surprises, and I was ready to embrace every moment. As we walked hand in hand through the festival, surrounded by laughter and music, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I was no longer shackled by my past. I was free to love, to dream, and to live fully. And for the first time in a long time, I was truly happy.